Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Depends on your geographical location. I welcome you to today's broadcast. And as you know, the context in which we discuss is Nigeria to be able to salvage whatever is left for us to salvage, particularly in view of the way the 2023 election went. The picture we are looking at here is beyond 2023, and that is the focus of Project Freedom when we look at this. And today we will be discussing on how to make corruption unattractive by the claim made or the vow made by the president-elect Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Now, before I go ahead with the broadcast, I would like to once again on behalf of the group, send my sympathies to one of our member, Foley B, who lost his brother, whose brother passed away. And please, this live program, on behalf of the group, I would like to express our deepest sympathy. May God give you that courage, you and your family the courage and peace to be able to stay strong in this time of mourning that you guys are experiencing. Once again, our deepest sympathy. Now, before I say anything, I would like us to take a listen to this video, okay, which is going to be the basis for our form the basis for our discussion this evening, and hopefully some of you will join those who wants to be part of this broadcast to weigh in on it. And
it's not so straight. In our policy think tank, we must fight corruption, and we definitely must look at the other side of the coin. If you don't want your judges to be corrupt, you got to pay attention to their welfare. We don't want our judges to play foul, to compromise justice. Not just the books, but do something. And I promise you, we're going to review all of this in a policy think tank.
Now, here is the president-elect making a promise to make corruption unattractive while commissioning a court building in Rivers State. Now, I think he has set himself a tax, in my opinion, unachievable tax. Because the first question everyone will ask is, or anyone will ask is, does he have the moral ground to stand to make corruption unattractive? If the answer is yes, let's argue that we answer yes to that question, that indeed the president-elect has that moral ground to make corruption unattractive. So the first question that will go to the president is, when he is sworn in, according to the Constitution, provisions of the Constitution, will he commit to declaring his assets and liabilities as prescribed by the Constitution? Now, we know there's a lot of issues surrounding the president-elect at the moment. We'll put that aside and let's say we're giving him that benefit of doubt that he will make corruption, keep to the vow and make corruption unattractive. Will he commit to the code of conduct as prescribed by the Constitution? These are questions, or some of the questions, that needs to be put to what? To the president-elect, and for him to answer. But we know it is impossible for him to answer questions because he often likes to avoid questions, or is going to transfer the question to somebody else to answer, as the case of when he was in a Chatham House in London. Now, let's get to the nitty-gritty of this matter. Now, the president-elect said he's going to bring out policy. His think tank group is going to bring out policy. What policy are they going to bring out that is not already in existence? How to fight corruption. Now, if you look at the thumbnail, which says that not even Peter Obi, who, everyone knows him for his integrity and accountability, was able to make corruption unattractive while governor of Anambra State for 8 years. Now, does that mean he's a bad person? No, he's not a bad person. Or is he a corrupt person? To a large extent, he is not a corrupt person. But the question is, why was he unable to make corruption unattractive in Anambra State, given to his pedigree? Because corruption itself comes with what? Or fighting corruption comes with what? Comes with certain degree of what? Of enforcing the existing law. For example, the Constitution says we must not give bribe as citizens of Nigeria, or as Nigerian citizens. But most of us gives bribe. Let's start to fight corruption from not giving bribe, regardless of the circumstances. Now, why governor of Lagos State for 8 years and senator? The question is, okay, as governor, the question is, did he prosecute or refer anyone to the public prosecutor for them to be prosecuted for act of what? Corruption? To the best of my knowledge, and until proven otherwise, the answer is no. So how will he be able to fight or make corruption unattractive? Now, if we go back to the issues that surround him, for example, the $460,000 confiscated by the American government, the issue regarding his certificate, the bullion van matter, the current election, the governor of Rivers State allegedly having given him the vote of Rivers State. Not proven yet, but everybody is saying that Wike gives the Rivers State election or voting to the president-elect. Is the president-elect willing to come outside to say, indeed, this is not the case? The issue of his certificate, his age, his nationality, his dual nationality. Is the president-elect willing to come out? These are the questions that Nigerians, particularly the legislative arm of government, should be asking the president-elect. Now, is the president-elect, they can't ask him. But when he's sworn in, will they be able to ask him that question? The answer is no. This issue about the legislative arm, and the executive will also be looked into. I will be doing a short video on that. But let's look at it very well into details. Nigeria should take a step back and ask this question. Why has the legislative arm of government not been able to put the executives under checks and balance? President Muhammad Buhari was most of the time abroad receiving treatment. Now, there's a section of the Constitution that if there is a concern in respect to his health, the legislative arm will subject him to medical examination. They did not do that. Do you know why? Reason being that the structure of corruption exists between both arms of government. Take, for example, again, the 10th National Assembly that is about to take place. The president-elect put forward Senator Akpabio, former governor of Cross River State, if I'm correct, or Akwa Ibom, if I'm correct. Why? Why should that be the case? That means apparently, if he's able to put Akpabio as a Senate president, Akpabio becomes his puppet. Now, many Nigerians sit down and looking at this and just thinking that, oh, it's another show. No, it's not another show. I've often argued that corruption sits in the National Assembly and the House of Representatives. That is the base and the home of corruption. Because for any bill to be signed or any budget to be signed or any money to go out, the National Assembly must approve it. Coming from what? From the executive. That is the home of corruption. But Nigerians, the citizens, we are the one that express the greatest failure in doing checks and balance. Because the legislative arm does checks and balance on the executive, while the citizens do the checks and balance on the legislative arms. But we sit down. We do nothing about it. We complain, we lament, and we say, oh, the nation, things are bad. Things are bad today because we fail to play our own role and take our responsibility as citizens seriously. Section 68 and Section 110, to which this group stands on, to which it is our emblem of campaign, 68 and 69, and that is recalling a sitting legislator. If we are going to change the narrative, if we're going to make corruption attractive, it's not in the hands of the president. Don't forget, Peter Gregory Obi could not make corruption unattractive while governor of Anambra State. If I am wrong, you can challenge me, prove me wrong. Because if he had been able to, the moment he leaves office, the reflection, it's going to be there. But he was unable to. Yes, he saved money. Yes, Anambra State during his tenure has the best education system so far. But is it still the same today? The money he left behind, it is claimed that the present governor that came in already finished the money. So this actually shows that he was unable to make corruption unattractive, because making corruption unattractive is about the institutions. And the citizens has a greater role to play in that. So when we look at this and try to balance it, there are a lot of questions that the president-elect actually needs to answer. But we're not going to hold our breath, because if we hold our breath for him to give answer to this question, guaranteed, anyone who does it, then the person is RIP at the end of the day. Don't hold your breath. He ain't going to answer. But you have a greater role to play. invoking Section 68 and Section 110 of the Constitution. This is our only chance to save the country. No any other way. I state this categorically. No any other way. Not even by prayer, as much as I love prayer, can we save the country. Not until we start to invoke Section 68 and Section 110 of the Constitution. Anything outside that, we're wasting our time. The president-elect cannot, whether he is even an angel or the Pope, cannot make corruption unattractive. Not possible. Now, in reference to the judges, how can the judges dispense judgment or dispense good judgment in what? In squalor? How about the police officer? How can the police officer do their job when they are not being paid? How about the teachers? How about constant electricity? Who is responsible? In the context of Nigeria, it is a man-made problem. Is the president-elect ready to go against this entity or individuals who have deliberately plunged the country into darkness? A man-made situation. And the citizens just go about with this idea of helplessness. We are helpless. We can't do anything. Says who? How can we say we cannot do anything when the provision of the Constitution is there for us to do something? Telling us, indeed, we can save the day. We fight against each other. Recently, there's this broadcast by one of these Nigerian channel in diaspora saying that Buhari must sack the INEC chairman before May 29th, 2023. Really? How can Buhari sack the INEC chairman? And even if he sacked the INEC chairman, to what benefit is that at the end of the day? Now, the third schedule, according to the provisions of the Constitution, the third schedule gives the power to appoint, the sole power to appoint INEC chairman to the president, or the president has the sole power to appoint INEC chairman. Now, if the president, Buhari, sack, for argument's sake, is sack what? Is sack the present INEC chairman. And Tinubu is sworn in May 29. What do you think will happen? The idiom putting the cart before the horse is what is being played out in Nigeria. And it's so unfortunate that despite our claim of brilliancy, our claim of giant of Africa, something as simple as Section 68 and Section 110 of the Constitution is very hard for us to invoke. Very difficult for us to invoke. Why? Even though it's not supposed to, but seems to be difficult for us to invoke. How do we get this country back into motion? We act so helpless. We blame external forces. We blame Western countries, Western world. Yet we go there in numbers, in hundreds, in thousands, in millions. And we say they are responsible for our problem. We never like to take responsibility for our actions. And there are a certain group of people who go about saying that the Constitution is a fraud. Let's argue that the Constitution is a fraud, the book itself. But it is subject to be amended. And the only way this constitution can be amended is when the citizens rise up and start to hold their legislators accountable, do the necessary checks and balance on them, write a petition. But we are not willing to. When it is clear that we are able to overcome this challenge, we act as if we cannot overcome this small, I call it small challenge. The challenge in the country is not that big that we cannot overcome. I totally disagree with that. If every one of us will key into these two sections, forget the executive, forget the judiciary, they will all fall in place if the legislative arms or the citizens starts to do the checks and balance on what? On the legislative arm of government. If not, we'll just be running in circle. We'll be going in circle. I'm not a prophet of doom. Never has and never will be. I'm not a pessimistic person. I am very optimistic, even in the worst situation. But in the case of what? Of Nigeria, the context in which we are today, the solution to our problem is what? Lies in the hands, I beg your pardon, lies in the hands of the citizens to take responsibility, to look at our duties as citizens, and to do right. According to Winston Churchill, history will always smile at me. History will be kind to him because he's ready to write it. The question before us is, are we ready to write history so that history will be kind to us? For we are well able to overcome. Then why do we go about as if we cannot overcome this small mountain? Why do we think it's external forces? Must everything be external? Oh, listen, I understand that there is forces everywhere. But there are also forces in the Western world that we run to. But because they make their own work, does that mean we cannot make our own work? After all, we call on God every day. We pray more than any other person. We spend time in all night and everything, in the mosques, in everywhere. How come we are saying that we are not able to overcome? Why are we acting in such a manner? Rather than acting in a manner or invoking section 68 and 110 of the Constitution, some of us sit down on a live show discourse for hours, 10 hours, 15 hours. Yet not once did we come up to the solution. All we do is we condemn each other. We run each other down, thinking it's about the political parties that is responsible for our problem. No, they are not. They are just the same human being as we are. Let's take a step back. Regardless of where we run to today, we will still be Nigerians. We will be looked at as Nigerians. If the country gets so bad and so corrupted and so, I don't know what word to use, even if we are in the White House or in number 10 or in a palace in France, as long as we have this identity of Nigerian, we will be looked at in that way. Take it or leave it. That is the truth. They won't say you are different. Oh, this is a different species. No. So it's high time we retrace our step and go back and look at how we're going to solve this problem. The solution is already there, right in front of us. Section 68, Section 110 of the Constitution. For we are well able to overcome when we start to invoke these two provisions of the Constitution. Don't let anybody tell you it's not possible. We have to stop to allow people to pitch us against one another. Let's go to our constituencies. Let's find out who is our legislator, who is representing us. How is he or she representing us in our constituency, in the house there? Let's start to take account. Let's start to do the checks and balance. Expecting a miracle from somewhere to happen, it ain't gonna happen. While we fold our hands and expect a miracle to happen, God does not function in that way. And no country in this world that is enjoying the benefit of democracy fold their hand expecting God to come down and fix the problem for them. Never. The answer is simple. Start to look into our legislative arm of government. That is where our problem is. And that is where our solution will start from. That is the seat of corruption. The temple of corruption is what is in the legislative arm, both in the state and federal level. The temple of corruption lies there. If we are able to fix that, we fix the nation. At least 50% of this problem of the nation will be solved. Then the rest 50% will come with time. Even if you don't achieve the rest 50%, at least the first 50% has been solved. The issue of lack of electricity lies there. The issue of the police, bad roads, education, everything lies in there. That is where the problem starts from. And if we can address it there, bingo, we are good to go. But when we continue to shy away, thinking it is religion that is our problem, it will not work. When we shy away, thinking it is tribe or ethnicity, the Igbos claiming that they are marginalized from what? 371 ethnic group in the country, and you, only one says you are marginalized. In what sense? In respect to basic living necessity? That argument doesn't hold anyway. And some people have used this to push for breakup, use this rhetoric to push for war, use this rhetoric to push for division. I'm very sad. And these are well-educated people. I hope we will do the right thing. Because fighting corruption lies in the hands of the citizen. It is impossible for the president-elect to say his think tank people will come up with policy. What's the policy? Everything is already written down. It is the implementation, starting from him and any leaders, anyone that claims to be leader, to show by example that indeed they really want to make corruption unattractive by declaring their assets and liabilities. How much do they have in the bank's account in abroad? In Nigeria, how many houses do they have? What is their salary? How are they able to pay for their children's school fees in abroad? That is how we can start to fight, make corruption unattractive. Not just words of mouth. It's easy to speak. It's easy to talk. Is cheap. And I will continue with this campaign. It may be discouraging at times, but we are ready to forge ahead because I know we are well able to overcome. And as I bring this broadcast to an end, I would like to reassure you, by the special grace of God, that we are well able to overcome. And we will continue in this campaign of Section 68 and Section 110. We ain't going to give up because we don't have any other country that we call our own. Only one. And I don't think God made a mistake by putting us there. Even though some have claimed, or some say, why will God put me here? Why didn't God allow me to be born into America or into England or Canada? I don't know. But for me, sure, I know that God has a reason for making me to come as a Nigerian. And if I have my way again to make a choice, I will still choose Nigeria because it's a lovely country. It's up to us to make it good. And until I come here again, God bless you. And God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria.